Hey everyone, Pastor George here. Welcome to Apologetics Wednesdays, and we are entering a new era. So, if you remember, we had the beginning era of Christian heresies where it was like the best thing is that I can say about that is at least they were original, right? A lot of these people with their ideas, whereas mainly debates about like who Jesus is, and that's basically it, right? Whether or not he's God and stuff like that. And so then you move into the medieval era, which is the age of we don't have any new ideas and all these old heresies kind of still exist underground, right? So then you get, that's the medieval era. And then you get into the Reformation and early modern period, where it's focused on a lot of like really fundamentalists, like looking at the Bible and pulling out things or using the spirit of Protestantism to kind of prop up yourself as a prophet, Mormonism and stuff like that. And then in the late 1800s into the present day, we enter a new phase, which is kind of the current thing, which is where you see a lot of groups pop up, which is the phase that I like to call either I'm Jesus and or let's just be Buddhist or Hindu, right? That's actually the phase that we're in right now. And you'll see what I mean by those things as we move on through these groups. But just to set the historical stage, right? So you have the explosion of colonization in the 1400s out of Europe, right late 1400s. And you start to get people going all over the world, especially Europeans, right? And originally they're kind of there to trade and to conquer, right? And so they start doing that in many places. But one of the places that they go to, especially in the English-speaking world, is the Far East and India, right? And so they start to take ideas from the native religion there and bring it back, especially kind of like the wealthy people and stuff like that, because they're fascinated by these foreign cultures, right? And they bring it back and they start incorporating it into their own spiritual practices or start their own faiths, and or people in those local places get exposed to Christianity, like some elements of it, and then attach it into their own faith, right? And so you kind of have those two things going on at the same time. So you have religions in the West being influenced by like Eastern faith, and you have religions in the East being influenced by Christianity, right? And so you have a bunch of churches start to pop up that use a lot of these teachings that are really foreign and aren't really applicable in Christianity and changed a lot of meanings. And one of the first groups to do this is the Unity Church. Now, the Unity Church is from the late 1800s, and I actually knew about this church for a while, although I, never really investigated it because on my exit to my hometown in Hunterdon County, there was a sign for a Unity Church that was in the area. And I always thought it was kind of weird. Not because, I'd never been there, but it's like, oh, I'd never heard of the Unity Church before. And so I, later on did some research and was like, oh, okay, it's not a cult, but like it's a definitely like, one of those cult adjacent things. But it started out as a Christian movement, right? But over time has grafted, especially at the beginning, a lot like Christian Science, where they believe that like the power within yourself to heal, but they've adopted a lot of the methods of like the East with meditation and stuff like that. And one of the things that they teach is that they teach that essentially that humanity is fundamentally good, right? And that you can be saved when you understand that, when you see the divine inside of you, you awaken it, and then then you're saved, right? So it's by an action, it's something you do, and it's not exclusively Christian either. It sees itself as a kind of a many faiths bringing it in, many faiths being sourced to the same point, right? And that is going to be a common theme as we move forward. But obviously, if you know any little bit of Christian theology, you can already point out kind of where they've gone astray, right? They place emphasis on a work. They place emphasis on humanity being good necessarily, right? In essence, and that we can kind of achieve some sort of divine state by figuring that out. They also do deny the Trinity and other common Christian things as well. And so when you boil that all together, you end up getting, a Christianity light thing that is really influenced by the East. And so they're kind of a good test case, because going forward, you're going to see how the way it works with a lot of these things is either the person claims to be Jesus, or the person ends up kind of bringing in a lot of like stuff from the East, or both. That happens. So we're going to take a look at some of that in these coming weeks. And these are going to be groups that you're probably more familiar with because you'll see them in the news and stuff like that. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.